Hello once again. Today we're starting the second one live stream with wonderful Katie Oden. And let me know how was your day. I hope you're doing pretty well. And remember, you're stronger than your OCD and you can do hard things despite the fear. Okay. Katie, I will try to accept your request. We have tried this a few times. Instagram doesn't like me, I think, when I go live. I'm really glad you're here. I'm really happy and excited to be here for you. Katie, where are you? Yeah, Katie, I see your request, but I'm trying to accept it, but it's normal. It's really often issue with Instagram, so I will do it a few times. And give me a hug.
I'll move up a little bit. No, it's every time I do an Instagram live, I can never get the person on.
Yeah, I have always the same issue, and I know I can. I have wait a few seconds or start the live again, but
I always say
finally,
there's always this awkward period at the beginning where I'm kind of talking to myself, trying to bring someone on, and I'm like, okay, and hello, everyone. And I'm
yeah,
over here clicking frantically.
yeah, exactly the same. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you here, and I still can't believe that we met together in Chicago. Oh wow,
Me
it's
too.
so
I know I put that on one of our stories for this. I loved our Chicago picture meeting. It's like one of
yeah,
my favorite pictures from the conference.
it was so amazing. And after Chicago conference, my best friend asked me, or she told me, "Oh, I know why your wife is so jealous."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, I think
but
it's funny because my husband also did the Lucas tackle, and I know we had like a battle
yeah,
on
exactly.
Instagram, which I won, which that's really the
Yay!
important thing. So yes,
Yeah,
but thank you so much for having me on here. And I love that you've been doing so many of these with such awesome
yeah,
advocates and clinicians, and you're just doing such awesome advocacy. So I'm super excited.
yeah. I'm super excited too. And finally, after I think 2 years of my of since I started my Instagram account, and finally we are here together, and we're doing this live stream because I know how important and how meaningful is this what we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
Because we decided with Katie to speak about help about hope in recovery journey, and we both know how important the hope is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I always come back to, I think, do one of my bracelets here say hope? Oh, no, my hope one's downstairs. But it always for me comes back to, I think, hope, and especially because in such a personal way, and I'm curious for you too what this looked like kind of on your journey. But if I go back to even like 2018 or 2019, so not all that long ago, like 6 or 7 years ago, this was before I was advocating, before I was kind of working in OCD spaces, and I didn't think hope exists. Well, let me correct that. I thought hope existed for other people, but not for me.
Mm,
And I didn't think it was possible for me to step forward. I didn't think it was possible to get better. I didn't think I was worthy of getting better. And one of the biggest things that I like to share with folks, and as we talk about this topic today, is I want folks to know that they can have hope, even the person who's sitting there thinking, oh, this is for everyone else except me.
Yeah.
Because I was that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is really tough because we both know also that OCD, that recovery isn't linear. So when we have a really great week and we can cope with OCD, and then we have a really tough one day, and we can think that everything is destroyed and there is no hope because I tried so hard and still am I at the point zero? So this is really hard to see that small piece of hope somewhere there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, especially in those moments, you're right. We can have so many really beautiful steps forward and that day that's really hard, and this comes up a lot actually it came up quite a few times in support groups I was leading this week, where folks are like, I feel like I'm back at the start. I'm starting all over again, and I always want folks to hear a tough day does not mean you're back at the start, and a
Mm.
lapse is not a relapse. You cannot unlearn all of the amazing skills and tools that you've learned. And OCD is chronic, and we are going to have experiences that are up and down, or where intrusive thoughts get a little bit sticky. But I think for me, where the hope comes in, it's not about never having those bad days, because we definitely have those sometimes. I will say I had kind of a tough one yesterday, but it's about having the skills and tools to bounce back. I
Yeah.
want to say hi to whoever's there. I don't know who
So
it is,
sorry,
but hello.
sorry. There is my dog, and
Oh,
she she has hope for dinner, and my son leaves chicken nuggets there, and hope she had a hope, and now she has a really great time with chickens. So yeah,
I love that.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Pets are the best. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, but maybe we can tell people why we choose this topic, because I think this is really important thing in recovery journey, and hope plays a really huge role when we want to change something, to recover, to make difference in our lives, but as well as OCD advocates in other people's lives. And without
Hmm.
hope, this is impossible, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm curious kind of what hope means to you also, but for me, I mean, there's a couple different layers of why this is one of my favorite topics. I think it's hope. I always want to talk about it for the me of 7 years ago who
Mm.
needed to hear that even for them there was hope, even if they felt like there wasn't. And I think it's also in those hard moments, on those hard days, like I said, yesterday was a tricky one for some different reasons. I think uh, for me, continuing to hold on to hope that it isn't just about functioning, that it's about flourishing, and that it can
Mm.
get better even on those hard days. And I think I spent so many years functioning but not actually showing up in my life, and I thought that was as good as it got. I thought that it was, the best that it could be with OCD, to just kind of go about my life. When I was serving in educational chaplaincy, I could go through a whole day where I was engaging in compulsions mentally the entire day. I was hating my
Mm.
life. I was making sure I hadn't murdered somebody before getting to school while I was preaching a sermon. I could do all of that at once, and I wasn't showing up. And I thought, well, at least I'm here. At least I'm functioning. And I think that that was such a beautiful step, because there were moments when I wasn't able to function. But I think the hope piece for me came in recognizing, wait, we deserve more than that. It's actually possible to enjoy and to be present in our life. And that doesn't mean that things aren't challenging. But I don't know, we can get better to the point that we actually can show up and engage in a big, beautiful, awesome life with the full spectrum of emotions. And that's where
Mhm.
I think I continue to hold hope on those hard days, to know that I can step through this, and that it does and it can and it will get better.
Yeah, yeah, agree, absolutely. And I think in my case also, it was really it was game changer to understand that OCD recovery is not about immediately being healed or something like this. It's it's important to believe that recovery is possible despite the fears, despite our intrusive thoughts, and we can't just stop our thinking, our thoughts, but we can live our life despite OCD, and this is important to understand. And this is important why hope plays so huge role in recovery, because we can live despite OCD the life uh, as we want to live. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is simple, but this is not easy.
I always say that it's simple, but it's not easy. It's this simple concept, but it is not at
Yeah.
all easy for those of us that live it. But what you're speaking to, I mean, it's one of, again, my favorite things to kind of think about and talk about, this idea that yes, OCD, it's not an overnight thing. I wish very much in my journey I wanted to be able to find a quick fix or something that would take it away, and that doesn't
Mhm.
exist. But through using our skills and tools and through evidence-based treatments, I always see it as we can live a full recovery focused, value driven life with OCD. And there was a talk I did a few years ago, gosh, it's probably been 4 years now, with Ethan and Shalin Isley and Kim Quinlan. And it was called OCD is Chronic, So What? Living a Value Driven Life Anyway. And we
Mhm.
talked about the fact that we can't control having OCD. We can't
Yeah.
control the thoughts or the feelings. We don't have to, but we do have this really awesome control on
Mhm.
how we respond to those things. And it's in how we respond that we get to reclaim our power and enjoy our life.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely agree. And there is a huge difference between, between false reassurance and healthy hope, because so many people can reassure us, you will be fine. You will start therapy, and in 1 or 2 months everything will be okay. And we know OCD is a part of our life, and we can choose that OCD will uh, we will live life that our OCD want or not, or we can live our life that we want for us, for our families, for our close ones, and this is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of it as that OCD never has to be in the driver's seat again.
Yeah.
I always am like, hey, it's
Mm,
like at least hanging out in the back seat. And sometimes I can hear it yell kind of like the kid at the back of the car in a road
yeah.
trip, and but it's not driving the car. And I think that's really important. And what you highlighted too, I think when we talk about hope, it can feel sometimes for folks like this flowery or
Mm,
toxically positive thing, which is not at all what I mean when I say hope. And in my perspective, hope is actually, there's some grittiness to it and some kind of grit of trying to have to, make it through some really tough spots with treatment. And what I always tell folks is, but there is, gosh, possibility of it not always being this hard and this challenging, and
mm,
it isn't, yeah, through this quick fix, and it isn't like,
yeah.
oh yeah, everything's going to be okay tomorrow, but it's like, no, everybody is worthy of moving through treatment and getting to a place where they can respond to their thoughts and their feelings differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes when it's really hard, we have a really hard OCD day, and it is almost impossible to see hope somewhere there. But I think the most important is to see the small wins when we're going through this, and we can go out of the room and do something valuable for us. And when we will celebrating those small wins, we will see the hope is there, and we can do hard things.
Celebrating small wins
Yeah,
that's also just, it's
absolutely. This is awesome because
huge.
when you feel that urge to make a compulsion, and you decided to live with your values, and you didn't you not perform this compulsion. This is such an amazing feeling, and you're stronger than OCD. And yeah, I'm superhero because I can do this. This is amazing. And those small things show us that hope will be there every single day,
Mhm.
but sometimes it is harder to see it.
Mhm.
But if we know that we can do hard things, it's really, really amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the focus on the small wins because I think sometimes, well, I'll name because so many of us see things in kind of an all or nothing fashion. I know I do it in my own life. I think sometimes I can see the small wins in other people's lives, but in my own life, it's, well, I had these, but I didn't do the big thing, or I didn't do the exposure, or I gave in to that one compulsion. It can be hard to celebrate, I think, the small wins in our own life. And I think when we do, it's an act of self-compassion. It's an act of hope in so many different
Yeah.
ways. And I think it's one of the reasons that community becomes so important because we get to lift up those small wins for one another. I was meeting with somebody earlier today who was saying, um, so I was meeting with someone. Oh, you didn't hear us? Can you still hear us? Oh, that was their connection. Okay. Okay, just making sure
Yeah.
folks can hear us. Let us know if you can't, because we want to make sure that you all are engaged and a part of this, and feel free to
Yeah.
ask questions and plug in too. But I was meeting with somebody earlier today who said, "Oh, I did something really hard yesterday. I had something hard come up in my life and I didn't engage in the compulsion. And I feel awful now and I feel super, super anxious." And I was like, okay, so that's kind of a win. I was like,
Yeah.
that's actually a really big win. You didn't do the compulsion on that thing that you're really scared of. And they were like, wait, I thought it was a loss because I was feeling really bad. I was like, no, it's a win. You did something really great. And we ended up celebrating it. And it kind of shifted how they saw
Yeah.
it and the ways that they saw hope. So I think we get to highlight that for one another. And sometimes we joke in Stick with the Ick, we'll talk about leaps
Hmm.
of faith. And sometimes we'll say that you can take a leap of faith, but you can take a hop of faith, you can take a lop of faith. It doesn't, however, whatever that step looks like, every single step matters and makes a difference.
Yeah. And I also yesterday I had a really huge wins because I had a really hard few days, and I thought that I didn't I will not be able to go to work or something like that. And yesterday, after 8 hours at work, I realized that I did it, and I'm proud of myself. And this is really amazing feeling that we can live despite our feelings. We can feel those feelings. We can feel those emotions. But uh, yeah, this is possible
It
to
is. And
stay
I'm proud of you too.
present.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And those are the wins. I mean, and it's not about how we felt in the midst of it, right? Yeah, it's what I say, have the fear and do it anyway. And
Yeah.
I think one of the best, I'll say one of the best feelings for me and one of the proudest feelings is when I do the hard thing and maybe feel really junky doing the hard thing and it might feel really intense, but then after I kind of get to that after and go, whoa, I did it. And you feel like a superhero. I always tell folks during my hardest point with OCD, when I was really engaging in treatment, I was teaching, I was in the classroom. Oh, you're in an exposure right now. Yeah, there's like folks are doing exposures like right
Yay.
now. So we are cheering you on. But I used to get so uncomfortable. Doing the response prevention and not engaging in compulsions that when I was teaching, I would literally, sorry for folks with emetophobia, this might be TMI, but I would run to the bathroom between teaching classes and get physically sick. And it was because I felt so incredibly anxious. I was not doing those, I just was like, oh, and I look back and I remember getting through really the first week where I wasn't doing compulsions and it feeling just awful. And again, I was like physically ill. And then I got through it and I was like, whoa,
Mm,
I feel like a superhero. Like I
yeah.
can, and that feeling, it's incredible.
Yeah. That's something amazing. And when we are living with OCD and we know how hard it is to live with OCD, we appreciate those small wins, and we know how hard those times were for us. And yeah, and we feel like superheroes. And yeah,
Mhm.
I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for this exposure right now here. I think also, Katie, that when we're decided to be advocates, and we know how important is this for us, because what am I doing is not therapy, but it works like therapy for me, because it is something amazing. And I know giving people hope and make their life a little bit better make a difference. So that's why we decided to do our amazing project. And over 80 people decided to show their faces. And for many of them it was also a really huge exposure, because
Sure.
decided to speak out loud about their mental health, their disorder, is a really huge step to give other people hope.
Yeah, I absolutely, and I think I'm reading the chat too, so I want to say happy birthday, Arisa. I happy birthday. I don't, but we
Yay!
hope you're having a great day. All of the exposures, all of the birthdays. We hope you're having an awesome day. But gosh, first of all, I think that project is just incredible. And I love that so many people are really leaning in and kind of doing that exposure and sharing their face and sharing hope. And I also think advocacy is such a beautiful thing for so many reasons.
Mm.
And oh, and happy birthday to your husband too. Happy birthday to
Yay! Happy
everyone whose birthday
birthday!
it is.
Okay,
um,
okay. Today is my wife's birthday too, but she is on business trip.
oh, okay. Well, happy birthday. What is your wife's name? I feel like I should know this.
Daria,
Okay, Daria.
Daria.
Happy birthday, Daria, if you watch this later.
Yay! So many celebrations right now.
All the celebrations. Oh, I love that. Oh gosh, what was that? Oh, so the hope piece. I get distracted and very excited about just this
Yeah.
community. But oh, advocacy. And I'll steal this from my partner, Ethan. He always says that, I mean, he's been advocating for like 15 years. And he always says that advocacy is, gosh, maybe 17 years, for a long time. But he always says that's really what's kept him well and what's helped him to continue to be in a space of recovery. One, he loves being able to help other people and offer hope for others. But he also always talks about how there's this element of accountability when we advocate. And I think that's really true. I'm curious for you. For me, when I'm doing things in my own life, or when an intrusive thought comes up, or when something feels really tough or really intense, I always think, oh, what would I say to somebody else? Or what do I want to be able to say later that I did in this moment? And I think when we're advocating, I feel like I'm fighting the OCD fight alongside so many different people in the world, and that we're doing it together. And it's like advocacy holds me accountable to want to continue to fight OCD and use my skills and tools so that I can be the best version of me
Mhm.
when I show up in those spaces.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I felt something amazing inside me when I was in Chicago, and this is something unbelievable because um, I felt there like in the really huge family, and I feel that connections between people. And when I saw all those faces I know from my Instagram, I, you know, I this is amazing feeling, and I know this community give hope and make a difference for others. Maybe the little girl Ava, who was on the at the conference, and she told us that uh, she felt understood. She felt like in the family. She felt like she knew that she was around her people, and and there was so much hope in Chicago, and I feel this energy and this amazing feeling right now also.
Me too. I feel the same way. And I felt that in Chicago too, and just with so many people and with meeting you, and even it's why I love doing things like this, as even connecting via Instagram. And I feel this hope with you now and with all of the awesome folks, even just commenting and saying, I'm doing an exposure, I'm doing this, or asking questions, or Anna Maria, I miss you too. Please feel free to join us at any point. And because we're in community together. And I think, this you can tell me if I'm totally getting off track on our hope topic, but I think there's also this piece, at least for me. So many of us, whether it's because of perfectionism or our moral scrupulosity, for me, a big piece is moral
Mhm,
scrupulosity, wanting to get it right, wanting to be
mhm,
good enough, wanting to be perfect or seen as perfect. I think one of the really neat things that's been so hopeful for me about community is I, I think people in the OCD community have gotten to know me well enough that they've seen me mess up. They've seen me screw up. They've seen me make
mhm.
mistakes. They've seen me, misstep or do this or do that. And I think one of the really neat things about this community is that we kind of remain a community. We remain a family. We continue to support one another. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't want to say reassuring, because not reassuring in an OCD way, but it's been affirming, to be in community with others who are navigating similar things, and to recognize that we can step forward as perfectly imperfect humans together and still be lifted up as a part of this awesome community. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And even small things, like I really believe that being in this community and other people can, in simple way, plant seeds of hope for someone else. And even if someone doesn't see the hope, we can make those small little change in their lives, and we know that speaking about it and being and mental health advocates
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
Mhm. It can I love the little moments with folks too, of just when we share these little kind of aspects of hope. I was coming back 2 or 3 weeks ago. So for folks who don't know, I'm a minister. I do a lot of work around scrupulosity in particular and research in that area. And I was out of town filming a scrupulosity module for a seminary. So we're starting to do really cool education for folks who are becoming clergy on what scrup looks like. And so I was recording. I was super pumped, got on the plane to fly back, and was doing a bunch of typing and things after. And the person sitting next to me on the plane was like, "Where are you coming from? And what do you do?" And they saw stick with the ick on the back of my phone. And they were like, "What is this?" And sometimes I get nervous because I don't want to go into a whole explanation of, well, this is scrupulosity and here's what I do and here's what I was
Mhm.
filming. So I don't ever know what folks are going to say, but for some reason I did. And I think I probably massively overshared, and I stopped myself and I said, "That's way more information than you probably needed." And the person looked at me and he said, "Actually, my child was diagnosed with OCD 2 weeks ago. And this is really, really helpful because we don't even know what to do or where to
Mhm.
start. And we actually think they have scrupulosity and we didn't know there was treatment for it." And I was like, oh, it was just the neatest. We ended up having the most hopeful kind of conversation of talking about the fact that there's community and there's resources and there's places that their
Yeah,
child can connect to just in sharing about our advocacy.
yeah, and we can also show people that recovery is possible, but we have to set realistic goals, and we can't just make one huge step and being free from OCD. But if we set compassionate goals, realistic goals, and also when we speak about ERP, it is so important to make small steps, because if you take a really huge step, you can fall down from the stairs. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's so true. If we do start with the hardest exposure, right?
Yeah.
We're not ready to be able to do the response prevention and we face plant.
Yeah. Oh wow. Uh,
I,
I,
I'm curious for you actually. So with this, because I love what you're talking about of these small steps, because I think it's so important. And I'll say for me, getting better or moving into recovery, it's always a journey, right? But
yeah.
especially, there were a couple different phases of my journey. I think for me, the first time I went through treatment, I walked out and I thought I was never going to have to think about OCD ever again. I thought it was gone. And obviously, we know that that's not the case. And then I had a really kind of big return of OCD. And it was really the second time I went through treatment when I started to recognize, oh, wait, this is something that's going to be with me forever. And
Mm.
to steal the words of John Hirschfield, he said, the cure for OCD is knowing that there is no cure, where we get to continue to approach it kind of each and every day. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, did you have a similar
Yeah.
experience? Did you have stages to your process?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I know that this is a really hard truth, and it can be really hard for people when they realize that OCD is a part of our brains, and it is possible to live with our values, but we have to be present. We have to be aware that OCD is somewhere there, and yeah, this was hard, but when we are aware of that, OCD can jump from one team to another team or something like that, it's much easier to not engage with intrusive thoughts, because when I I was suffering from OCD for almost 2 or 3 years. Earlier, I have episodes with checking compulsions, but last year's OCD was on the first place, and I realized that OCD is not only thing between husband and wife or in romantic relationship, but it can only affect friendships and other relations. But I am aware of that, and it's much easier to see, oh, hey, OCD, I know you are there, shut up, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah,
I love that you
I'm
highlight being able to recognize, and especially with our OCD, that it can show up in other relationships besides just with our romantic partner. And in recognizing it, it doesn't mean that it's gone, but it means we can kind of point out or pick out the patterns that OCD has in our life so we can respond differently. I always tell folks, you kind of get to know your own personal version of what this looks like,
yeah.
and we get to say if it looks like OCD and smells like OCD, we're gonna
Mhm.
try to treat it like OCD.
And important is that we have around us people who understand what OCD is, and even if I am aware that this is OCD and I feel the urge to ask for reassurance, but other person can recognize this and tell me, "Hey OCD, I will not respond for this question this time," or yeah, something like that. It's really helpful that other people see the same thing I see, so they know that this is OCD, and
Mhm.
that really gives people hope, because when other people understand that OCD is mental health disorder, uh, we have hope that we will be not judged from other people, that the stigma one day will disappear because of our advocacy, because of so many amazing souls who share their stories. Uh, yeah,
Mm.
so we have to speak about this, and we have to share our stories. We have to spread awareness because we know how important this is.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about, having people in our lives that know how to respond and can support us. And again, and you highlighted this so beautifully. It doesn't mean reassurance. It doesn't mean, oh,
Yeah,
it's going to be okay. Nothing bad's going to happen, because OCD will poke holes in that. And we just will continue to go down the spiral. But, and I'm curious what this looks like at home for you and your wife. But for me and Ethan here, where we both have OCD, which is can be such a beautiful dynamic of understanding. And it can also be sometimes challenging, I think, if we're in spirals at the same moment and about different things. But the thing that we have found that's really helpful is
yeah,
to respond to the emotion, as opposed to the content. So, for instance, he might say to me, oof, Katie, this is super hard. And I know your OCD is really, really loud right now. I am not going to reassure you or talk to you about this content, but I'm willing to sit with you in the midst of all of the guilt and shame and anxiety that's
yeah,
coming up.
yeah,
I don't know how you all navigate that in your house.
yeah. It's complicated. It's complicated, and it's still a lot to do
Yeah.
when we speak about understanding. But yeah, it is. We know that it is hard for both sides.
Yeah.
So OCD affected the whole family, and this is really hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Someone wants to ask question. Yeah, guys, if you have question, you can write it in the comments or in question box, and we have still time, so we can answer.
I think we missed a couple actually earlier. I'm going to scroll back because we were just chatting and I saw some pop through. Let's see. They were a while back.
Yeah,
Um,
live stream. I will answer one question. This live stream, I will save this live stream. I will share it as a post, and I will share it on YouTube. So absolutely, you can show it to anyone later.
Perfect. Oh, I can't find the other question. So the other person that asked a question, feel free to repost it. I did not try to skip over it, but I love this question. What is the best way to stop taking pictures as proofs? So you can tell me if this is what you're talking about, but it sounds like you're, especially with things like checking, maybe not trusting your memory. So you're taking lots and lots of pictures to be able to go back and check later if something is locked or off, or to make sure you didn't cause harm. Um, is that I is that well? I'll let you kind of answer if that's what you're referring to, because I definitely have experienced that in my own life. And hi, Sarah. Is that something that you've experienced with the kind of picture hoarding?
Uh, yeah, I've had an episode with my OCD when I took pictures to saw them later and trying to realize that that what I saw is something normal or not,
Yeah.
or if dress if dress my wife was wearing is something normal or it's too uh, or if it has too deep neckline or something like that. And I I was I was looking at the photo and trying to feel this in the right way, you know. So yeah, I've I've had few pictures, few few pictures.
Yeah, phew. No, thank you for sharing that. And I'll share pretty authentically too. And I know you answered in the chat that that is exactly what you're talking about, and it looks like others have experienced that too. So I'm so sorry to folks who are in that right now. That was, gosh, I struggled with that for a really long time, and probably gosh, so many different ways. When I kind of some of my earlier obsessions in college and grad school before I shifted into kind of more harm related stuff, I would take pictures. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. I would lock the door and then take a picture. And I used to have a bedroom routine where I would go around my apartment when I was in grad school, and I would take a picture of the lock. I would take a picture of the stove. I would take a picture of the back lock. Actually, before that, I would go down to the parking garage and take pictures all around my car to make sure there weren't any dents. And then I would go and I would get in bed and I would look at all the pictures to make sure that everything was locked, everything was off, that I hadn't hit anybody with my car. And kind of what ended up happening, which I'm sure it is for some of the folks talking in the chat, is I learned, I was telling my brain that I couldn't trust myself and that I couldn't trust what I was seeing. And then over time, where the pictures initially made me feel a little better, they didn't help at all. And that I didn't trust what I was seeing in the pictures. And OCD
Yeah.
started to poke holes in it of maybe I unlocked it after I took the picture, or maybe I took the picture and then turned the stove back on, or maybe
Mm,
I went and hit somebody with my car after. So it got to the point, my camera looked pretty intense. I had hundreds and hundreds of pictures of unplugged items, of doors, of locks. And then
mhm.
eventually when I got into harm stuff, I would take pictures of everything I wrote to make sure I didn't write something inappropriate. I would take voice recordings of people that I was talking with to make sure like I could go back and listen to see if I accidentally murdered them while we were like
Yeah.
hanging out, which so the biggest advice that I have with this is, of course, to make sure that you're working with a provider and maybe starting ERP. And I think you can really talk with your provider about what a hierarchy around this might look like and starting to implement some response prevention strategies around the pictures. And it might not mean that today, just like we were saying a second ago, it might not mean we say, okay, I'm never taking any pictures ever again right now, because that might be too big of a step. But it might be starting off really slow and saying, okay, today I am gonna take 3 less pictures of the door,
Mm.
or I'm going to postpone this long, and kind of starting to build up to that. Because I want you to know you are so capable of trusting yourself and your mind without needing to go back and check those pictures. But I know it's so hard because I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had, and the same mechanism worked in my case, but when I watched movies, and in the movie it was something that triggered me, and I rewind this movie and pause, and I had to check if what I saw it's something bad, or what my thoughts were, and then I can play again, but in a few minutes I rewind again and again and again, and oh fuck it, I will not watching this movie till the end. This was something impossible. Oh,
Yeah.
the same situation is when we are decided to take a picture to reassure ourselves, and and we try to get an illusion of certainty.
Mhm. Yeah, we are trying for that illusion of certainty, and the more we try, the more we poke holes in it, and the more we don't have it. And what you described with the movies, I've talked to folks a lot about that with Scrupulosity recently, of rewinding to make sure that nothing bad is said, and wanting to go back and see what thought we were thinking. Alif, we don't offer, I don't offer therapy, but I'm always happy to make referrals to folks in your area. There's also a really great resource directory with the IOCDF that you can find. It kind of find a therapist kind of located in your area. And Shona, I know that the cost component can be super hard. There's also some really great self-help resources and books. And if I'm sure if you send either of us a message or an email, we're happy to put you in touch with some of those too.
Yeah, she lives in Turkey.
Oh, one of the biggest recommendations I have, if you're looking for international treatment with in English, if you are not familiar with, I love Beyond Borders CBT. Beyond Borders, they treat internationally around the world via telehealth, and they do ERP, and they actually sometimes do reduced rates too. So I would definitely check that out, Alif.
Yeah. Okay. If you guys have any question, we can answer it yet. And yeah, I'm so happy that we decided to do this
Me
live stream
too. I'm
together.
reading. It looks like we have one more. It said, a question: Will we will get fear about a particular trigger situation even after habituated? Is it normal or not? Um, so for that, I would say, even if, gosh, we've gone, I'll say for me, I'll speak from a personal experience. I've gone through treatment around particular themes that haven't bothered me in a long time, where either there's been some inhibitory learning, or I've habituated, that down the line they've popped up and have still really bothered me and increased anxiety. And I don't think that's bad. I don't think that means that you're doing anything wrong. I try to approach it as we are human beings. And of course, we're going to get scared of similar fears sometimes, even the ones that have been through treatment. And it's not about the feeling that comes up around it. It's about how you respond. So
Mhm.
I like to see when an old fear kind of pops back up for me or triggers me. I'll act as if, and this may sound really silly, but I'll put my shoulders back and I'll say, yes, okay, I have such an awesome opportunity to make OCD smaller today, to pull out some of my old skills and tools. So I want you to know it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Things will ebb and flow, and we might have old themes come back up, but it's not about the theme. It's again about really how we respond. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that too.
Yeah, agree. I totally agree.
Awesome.
So, yeah, uh, I think, this is a question about this therapy to you or to us. Do you reply back to the to messages? Yeah, I know this is hard question on Instagram because on Instagram there are so many people and it is almost impossible to answer uh, for all messages. And I think it is also the point to speak about setting healthy boundaries, because we are just humans, and there are so many different ways to stay with contact. For example, I think, Katie, with you is the way per mail or something like that.
Yeah, I don't answer DMs, and for me that was not big. I always say it's a boundary setting thing for me, and I used to really, well, I will name, I still really struggle sometimes with boundaries because I want to be there all the time and respond to everything. But I started to realize that especially as scrupulosity work I was doing was growing, that I couldn't respond everywhere in all places because then I wasn't any good to myself or to the people that I was responding to or the folks that I was kind of supporting. So I don't respond to DMs, but there's a little auto message that comes up that gives my email, and for me also kind of how to contact me and stick with the ick. Those are the two places that I respond. And yeah, I always see it as, and I do respond. I'm on email like 24/7. So I do respond to those, even if it takes me a little bit. But yeah, I like that you brought up the boundaries because I see it as an opportunity to talk about the fact that we can care so deeply about this work. And a part of our care can be to figure out, how can we interact and still put our oxygen mask on so we can keep helping
Yeah,
people.
yeah, especially when we have OCD and we decided to help people, it's pretty easy to cross those boundaries. And especially on Instagram, there are so many people who are asking for help. And even if I tell them that I am not therapist, it's really hard not to respond for those questions. And 1 minute conversation is changing for 1 hour conversation, and then it's even harder to tell people, sorry, I am not specialist and I can't help you at this moment.
Yeah. I love that you're figuring out kind of your rhythm and what that looks like too, because I know it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard because we know how alone we felt, and sometimes we still feel alone, but we can't we can't help anyone in every single minute, and we all have to understand that for ourselves, because when our mental health will be destroyed, we will not help anyone.
hmm Yeah, I always love the putting your oxygen mask on before kind
Yeah.
of helping those around you. And I think that um, for me, shifting it's been I'll say an exposure to start not when I first started not doing DMs and switching everything over to kind of stick with the ick and to my email, a lot of that. And then I realized over time, because it started where I felt like, oh, am I not doing the right thing? What if I'm not being helpful? And then I realized, oof, I actually have more fuel in the tank so I can do an even better job with scrupulosity consultations or in support
Mhm.
groups and show
Yeah.
up and be even better to help folks. So I always say it's boundaries can be compassionate for you and also for everybody around you. And like Lucas, you're doing such awesome, amazing work that we want you to be able to do for a billion years. So, do what you need to do to
we
protect your
we
energy in that too.
we're all doing amazing work, and I realize that there are so many amazing people who want to help others, and this is amazing.
Mhm.
So, Katie, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I have one sentence here for the end for this life. So even if you're in the darkest place, hope is still possible. And yeah, fear doesn't get the last word. Hope does. So yeah,
Mic
thank,
drop. That is a perfect place for us to close out. Thank you for
thank you
sharing
so
that,
much,
for having me,
Katie.
and for what you do. Yeah.
Have an amazing day. And
You too.
I'm going to sleep right now, or maybe watch some movie because here is almost 8 p.m. and I have my wife is on business trip and I am alone with my boy here. So
Oh. Well, have fun. Go watch something fun. Enjoy, and we'll talk soon.
yeah, and see you next time. I hope.
See you
Bye
next time.
bye,
Bye.
Katie.